Maybe briefly, how did you get into cybersecurity in the first place?
I'm glad you asked that, because that's really part of the interesting part of this story. When you walk into work one day in a small regional medical facility, you're the network administrator, kind of in the trenches kind of guy.
There was air quotes over network administrator for the people listening.
You have conversations with people with badges, not to the level of you, Mark, but, FBI, Secret Service, those kind of people. A data breach happened in that medical facility, and after being cleared as being the suspect, one of the suspects, we were all suspects because we worked in IT. It got to be an inside job, right?
Yep.
Had over 800 patient accounts that were compromised, and they were used to file fraudulent tax returns.
Oh.
I can speak of this because it's public. Yes. And so that kind of gave me a perspective of looking at IT through a different lens,
And this was at the start of kind of getting into this.
I wasn't even in security there.
So you kind of got...
The closest thing was group policy.
Thrown in the deep end of security by like a necessity at some level.
But, after doing some of the forensic work that was required to figure out who did it, it gave me a lens to look through. And from that point forward, I can see that's where my career shifted from, deep in the annals of IT techie world to cybersecurity. So always had a fascination from that point forward to pursue that pathway. And that is really what led me to doing the security kind of work. Worked for an insurance company, had a dotted line per se to cybersecurity. Interestingly enough, the legacy privilege management system for BeyondTrust, if anybody remembers that name, Power Broker for Windows.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then that insurance company decided that we need a PAM product, and did several POCs. BeyondTrust was the winner, and that's where my PAM experience came in. So from there, opportunities just kept coming because, if you're not doing something in the way of, those 4 platforms, endpoint privilege management, password management, protection, Active Directory, bridge, those kind of things, you're not 100% zero trust, as we learned from one of the speakers today. So that's how I got into it. Yeah.
So coming from that IT background, you must have seen some fantastic cybersecurity war stories. So is there any particularly funny or memorable cybersecurity war stories you've got?
I can't say funny, but memorable. Working as a services provider company, we see things. Some of it we can talk about, some of them we can't. We can't name names, obviously. But when you have a large-scale enterprise that do not, they use their standard accounts that they've checked email on to go in and administer protected assets, what I call tier 1, type assets. That's scary. But it also at the same time gives you a sense of satisfaction that you're helping this client, this enterprise, to take security seriously. And so that's probably one of the more common things. In some of these big companies, brands that you would instantly recognize, it's unimaginable as that they're still doing it like that, that there's not a separation of a standard user account to an administrative level account. So, yeah.
And then as we round this out, is there anything that you did personally in your past that you now think, as a cybersecurity professional, why on earth was I doing that?
Some of the reuse of passwords. Yeah, that's probably one that many of us are guilty of. Same password across 5 different, platforms or something like that. And that's an absolute, accident waiting to happen. So, yeah.
Okay, and I am being given a time warning and winked at furiously.
I mean, we got to ask the
We've got to
ask the after hours important questions.
So, most important question: if you could pick a cybersecurity hero and a villain, what would it be? It
doesn't necessarily have to be comic book. We seem to have broken that mold.
The problem is I'm not understanding the comic book references, so I'm broadening the scope.
And I'm afraid I'm going to get lit up on the internet for getting it wrong. So I like Wolverine.
I'm going to go with the comic book theme.
Okay.
Because I did, think about it a little bit. Batman.
Batman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The second Batman of the night.
Batman is still kind of a mystery. He wears a mask.
Yep.
Supposedly we all know who it is, right? But in public, nobody knows who he is. And so a lot of times working in cybersecurity, people don't know who we are until there's a breach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when there's a breach, there's a failure to protect. That's where we get unmasked. And so our objective is to keep the mask on so that we remain kind of in the background. We do our jobs. We protect, keep people out of the headlines. And that's really, if you're working in IT or in cybersecurity, we all have one job, and that's to protect whoever's hired us out of the cybersecurity headlines.
I think that's a really nice, profound answer. Yeah.
And who would you be, real quick, who would be your villain?
Villain, the Joker. Keeping with the Batman theme. Yeah, the Joker. The thorn in the side. They're just kind of obnoxious and taking things lightly when, security is, come on, not Mark.
They're pointing at me for our audio listeners, but jokingly. Maybe James isn't.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
No, I going back to what you were mentioning with the Batman reference, right? And sometimes it's like, you have all these expectations to remove all the friction, just make everything work. It's supposed to magically not get hacked. Nothing's supposed to go wrong, right? There's a very thankless aspect to what folks like yourself do, right? And so for whatever it's worth, and I can speak for James, thank you for what you do.
Absolutely.
And thank you for sharing. Really appreciate it, man.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.